Hey guys, in this video I want to make a quick free-to-play guide for Neuvillette, and I will tell you guys about his build, weapons, artifacts, and team comps, and even let you guys know the pros and cons of this character, so you guys can have a better idea if you plan on pulling for this character in this version or maybe later, or maybe even if you already got him in this banner and you're wondering what you can do as a free-to-play player. So let's get started. First off, let's briefly go over his pros and cons. For his pros, he can do a significant amount of damage with his charge attack, which is really satisfying to use, and I would have to say best charge attack in the game, period. Especially because he can hover around during his charge attack, which helps his mobility, and his passive also provides damage buff if any party member triggers a Hydra related reaction, and he can be a great main DPS in the right setups and teams, and one of his passives also allows you to be faster during underwater exploration, which is always nice to have these little boosts. And for cons, he's highly susceptible to interruptions during his charge attacks, especially at C0, meaning you absolutely need a shielder if you don't have the C1 of this character, and his charge attack casting time is really slow without absorbing source water droplets. Granted, by using his elemental skill and burst, you can get those fairly quickly, but you can't start the combat with your charge attacks, which will be fine for most people. But the other issue is he currently does not have a HP buffing support that is perfect for him, but that will probably change when Farina gets released. Overall, this character does not have any deal breaker major cons, and these cons are really minor, and I just mentioned them for the sake of this video. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about his artifacts. Your best choice would be the new Hunter set from Fontaine. And yes, I know I just said the new Hunter set because I'm not sure how you pronounce the first part. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys can help me with that. As it will not only increase normal and charge attack damage by 15% from having the 2-piece of this artifact, the 4-piece bonus is where it shines. Increases your crit rate by 12% with 3 stacks every time your HP increases or decreases, which will be a maximum of 32% crit rate with all the 3 stacks available. For characters that have the ability to constantly alter their HPs like Linny, and now for Neuvillette, he can self-damage and heal himself at the same time, so this is a great artifact as it will allow you to focus more on other stats instead of crit rate when you're building his artifacts. Now for the artifact stats, Sand should contain HP percentage, and Goblet should have Hydra damage bonus. And as for Circlet, you should focus on crit damage since crit rate will be supplied by the artifact substats and the effect of the new Hunter set. And as for substat of artifacts, focus on crit damage, crit rate, and as much HP percentage as possible that you can get, and also energy recharge and elemental mastery will be crucial for his character, so keep those in mind as well. And now for his weapon, for an absolute free-to-play player, you may use prototype Amber, which is a craftable with a stat of HP percentage, but not best in slot for this character, but if you're a new player, it's fine. But there's another 4-star that you can also get for free through the events in 4.1 if you're watching the video at the time of it's being recorded. It's a catalyst weapon called Ballad of Boundless Blue, which can be obtained by participating in Waterborne Poetry event. This weapon is great for characters whose damage relies on normal and charge attacks, as each hit will increase damage for a maximum of 3 stacks. At level 90, it will have 565 base attack with 30.6% energy recharge. Since everyone can get the refinement rank 5 of this weapon by participating in the event, I will read the passive of this weapon at R5, which is within 6 seconds after normal or charge attack hits an opponent, normal attack damage will be increased by 16%, and charge attack damage will also be increased by 12%, with a maximum of 3 stacks. This effect can be triggered every 0.3 seconds, which based on his stats, it can work well with Neuvillette, whose main strength lies behind his charge attacks, and this weapon can also be a good free-to-play option for any player because it's absolutely accessible. And for upgrading his talents, since his charge attack is his top priority, normal attack talent should be upgraded first, then elemental skill, and at last elemental burst, since they will provide source water droplets, which is crucial to help him heal and get access to his charge attack faster, and can deal good amounts of damage by themselves. They're still important, but not as important as his normal attack talent, so keep that in mind when upgrading his talents. Now, for his team comps, I will suggest a few teams and you can decide which one you like the most, but a disclaimer, you don't have to build any of these teams just like I say. These are just my suggestions, and if you disagree and if you have other teams that you can suggest, I would love to read your comments and learn more. based on your experiences, so take it with a grain of salt if you don't agree with me. Now for the first team, you can have Neuvillette accompanied by Fischl, Sucrose, and Zhongli. And in this team, Zhongli will help him have resistance to not get interrupted out of his charge attacks, especially at C0. And Sucrose is for crowd control and enhancing the elemental mastery of the team, which will result in more elemental reaction damage. And Fischl will provide off-field electro application for constant electrocharge reactions, while Neuvillette will be the character on field. You could also change Sucrose with Kazuha if you want to, and Fischl can be replaced with Raiden or Yaimiko if you absolutely wanted to, and it will be just fine. And for Zhongli, you can replace him with another shielder like Diona, or any other shielder that you want, and it will probably be just fine. For team number 2, Neuvillette can benefit from having Nahida, Kazuha, and Kuki for a Hyper Bloom team. In this example, Kuki Shinobu is the one triggering Hyper Bloom, with Nahida enabling Dendro. Since Neuvillette is self-sufficient and can heal himself easily, the healing of Kuki is not that important, but will still come in handy if players take damage with other units. Just remember that this team doesn't have a shielder, so Neuvillette must be positioned properly to avoid interruptions when using his charge attacks, especially at C0 as I mentioned. Meanwhile, Kazuha will debuff the enemy's Hydro resistance by his swirls and buffs Neuvillette's Hydro damage and groups the enemies all at the same time, which is always nice to have crowd control in your teams. And for this team, you can change Nahida with Dendro main character, or maybe even Kali, and Kazuha can be replaced by Sucrose, and Kuki Shinobu can be replaced by Raiden Shogun if you don't have a Kuki Shinobu build. And since this video isn't supposed to be long and it's a quick guide, I'm gonna suggest 2 last teams, and both of his teams are freeze teams. One will consist of Neuvillette, Rosaria, Shenhe, and Kazuha, and the second one will consist of Neuvillette, Ganyu, Sucrose, and Diona. Since you will be able to take advantage of Neuvillette's AoE Hydro application, which makes him more than able to maintain freeze when paired with one or more cryo units, his strong personal damage makes him a more offensive alternative to the commonly used Hydro appliers. And the crowd control from freeze can allow players to run Neuvillette without a shielder even at C0, because it will help you by making enemies stand still and you can deal as much damage as possible. Now, characters like Rosaria, Ganyu, and Shenhe can work well with Neuvillette's attacks. With anima units like Kazuha and Sucrose that I mentioned in both teams, they will allow crowd control and help to group enemies together so that your freeze comp can work better. And with that, this was a quick guide to help you guys if you don't want to watch a full guide filled with a lot of information. So I hope this was beneficial and useful for any of you guys, and if you have any other questions, let me know down below, and I would highly appreciate it if you have any suggestions or anything you want to say in the comments, and I would gladly read them. Also, consider subscribing for more content in the upcoming days, as it will help me a lot and I will highly appreciate it. Have a good day or night, and peace.